I'm speaking to Mr. Astrit Istrefi, the Executive Director of the Balkan Forum, a prominent civil society organization and a think tank based in Pristina. I'll start with the last question. Is there a risk of an armed conflict between Serbia and Kosovo right now? How dangerous is the situation?
Thank you, Javier. Let me say why it cannot be a war between Kosovo and Serbia. There are at least four reasons. One is that wars in our space, in the Western Balkans region, have ended in 1995, the War of Croatia, the 1995 War of Bosnia and Herzegovina, 1999 War in Kosovo, 2001 conflict war in Serbia, and same year in Macedonia. So the war has ended, let's say, last century. Second thing is that, as you know, Kosovo is not a NATO member state, but NATO Kosovo-led force is based in Kosovo. It has roughly some 3,700 troops from 27 or 28 contributing nations. Among them are Albania, North Macedonia, Canada, United States, and so many other places. Even those who are perceived to sometimes have a neutral policy when it comes to security-related matters outside of the European Union. So that is the second thing. NATO is in Kosovo, NATO troops are here, so there cannot be a war between Kosovo and Serbia. The third reason is that the involvement itself from Jose Borrell, the High Representative of the EU, to Miroslav Lajčák, who is facilitating the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia, to special advisors to President Macron of France and Chancellor Scholz of Germany, and to US envoy for the Western Balkans, says a lot on the high geostrategic significance that Western Balkans has, and particularly Kosovo-Serbia dialogue have. So that's the third reason. And the fourth one, I think, if we haven't learned any lessons from the bloody wars of 30 years ago, of 25 years ago, that took place in our region, that left hundreds of thousands killed and raped and properties destroyed, then that means that something is wrong, and that would be people who may have a war mentality even today and live in the past and would like to demonstrate force or perhaps even attempt to use force, but they are going to bear the consequences of what we have seen in our recent history. So I think that would be a scenario for those who are adventurers more than politicians, and those open-minded politicians that look into the future and do whatever they can to build a different vision for the Western Balkans. That's why I strongly believe that there is no war anymore. Wars have ended, but there are tensions between the two countries.
So what we are seeing here is not flexing the military muscles, but the propaganda and political muscles. Am I right there?
What we are seeing nowadays is nothing dissimilar from what we have seen since the end of the war in Kosovo. So now and then there are tensions, and then you have even, let's say, the Minister of Defense of Serbia last year, accompanied with by the Russian ambassador to Serbia, who brought the military to the border with Kosovo. We had the fighter jets cruising in the Serbia-Kosovo airspace. So it's nothing that we are seeing for the first time. These are, how to say,
the usual, already seen, déjà vu?
Yes, in the past.
Right, I see that. Well, your first response is relatively assuring that at least we are not running a risk to see a war or an armed conflict in the vicinity of our country or within your country, of course, or at the borders. So you believe that the situation is not as dangerous as it seems, or are the media actually pumping up the atmosphere?
The situation, I don't think we should underestimate that the situation is quite serious. And that, Kosovo-Serbia dialogue or attempt to reach a legally binding agreement between the two countries is not only a matter of Kosovo and Serbia, is a European matter, is a NATO matter. So it's a matter that not only concerns the two countries, but other allies and partners that include EU and NATO. So the situation is serious, but I think the situation is serious more because any threat to peace and security in the Western Balkans is not only a threat to the region, but it's a threat to Europe, to our continent, and more broadly to the world. We have seen such situations with the Russian aggression against Ukraine. I think Putin was quite clear before the aggression started there that, Ukraine may be a matter that we can sort of try to deal with, but NATO is the most powerful military in the planet. So we are not going to fight with NATO.
Well, let's briefly, for the sake of our audience update, can you tell us why now? Okay, we heard that this has been a situation, a long-standing situation between Kosovo and Serbia, but then why now? Why now is this tension so high? Can we see some resemblance or maybe some coincidence with the war against Ukraine, the aggression against Ukraine, or is there some situation in which maybe Putin needs a second or a third conflict zone to disperse the attention of Europe and NATO?
I think there may be three reasons why, and these are my analysis. One is that Russian aggression against Ukraine is kind of proven that is going to be the biggest defeat in Russia's recent history. Second is that in this sort of scenario, when we see that Russia is getting a lot of losses, financial, military, economic, and so on, and is being largely isolated by the rest of the world, that another conflict in a different region where Russia has significant influence could serve Putin's purpose and Russia's purpose. And a third one, which I think is not distinct, but is goes hand in hand, is that a dialogue that Kosovo and Serbia began in 2011 has been going ups and downs. It has seen progress, but it has seen also steps back. But now there is a proposal, Franco-German proposal, that has the support of the European Union, of the NATO member states and NATO in general, and of the United States and UK. And it's a plan. It's not an agreement, but a plan on how can we get to an agreement. And the more that becomes real, the more tensions there are, and the more tensions there may be before Kosovo and Serbia come to an agreement that this or a revised plan is something that both countries do to put an end to the hostilities that are taking place. And this plan has an end goal. The dialogue that started in 2011 did not have a clear end goal on what is going to happen. This one has. And it has to be a legally binding agreement, a comprehensive agreement that leads to full normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia. And then on the Kosovo side, there is a demand that there cannot be any agreement without explicit recognition of the Kosovo statehood. And on the side of Serbian government, there is that we want autonomy for Kosovo Serbs, and that there cannot be ever a recognition of Kosovo statehood by Serbia.
So, positive development of the Kosovo-Serbian relations is not going at hand of Putin's politics?
No.
And vice versa. Right. Well, looking at the Kosovo government, is there something that the Kosovo government is doing wrong or should do and is not doing, or is it doing something more than it should? Can we briefly analyze the behavior of Mr. Albin Kurti's government?
I think government of Kosovo should do more, coordinate more its efforts with the NATO presence in Kosovo and with the EU presence in Kosovo, both military and civilian. And I think it should also demand from the European Union, from the Quint, a more prominent role in bringing together both Kosovo and Serbia to at least agree on a way forward to reach an agreement. Personally, I think an agreement between Kosovo and Serbia is something that we have to kind of look long-term perspective, more than a short-term, more than something that can happen now or in the near future or medium for that matter. So it has to be it will be long-term, I'm afraid, but at least that there is some progress. There are some positive steps that are taking place, and that a final agreement is coming incrementally and building on the solid, let's say, basis of small agreements that may take place between now and when that final agreement takes place.
I appreciate your positive and optimistic approach towards this delicate issue indeed. I would like to ask you, are there political and societal players and actors there in both Kosovo and Serbia that are pushing towards positive resolution of this crisis? Maybe media or civil society initiatives and so on, are part of Balkan Forum, of course.
That's a very good question, and I think that is what is needed in such during such time of really high tension between the two countries, and we have to also think about people in the north of Kosovo, because they have a large burden right now. But there are civil society organizations, there are very vocal, who are basically promoting peace, who are having a dialogue as much as possible during these times with the different bits of governments in both Kosovo and Serbia, and with the parliament and with the opposition. There is opposition as well, I think, in both countries that have a different view on how this kind of tension can be diffused. So there is a lot in that sense, but I can say one other thing is that there is a lot of propaganda, there is a lot of disinformation, and so it's quite challenging for let's say the citizens on both countries to make sense what is really going on, and sometimes even for well-informed civil society or political activists and media to understand what is all at play. As you know, disinformation nowadays, it's easy to even penetrate and reach out to not only those well-informed parts of the society, but even the young people via TikTok and Instagram and so many other forms of social media that may aggravate the situation even further.
Thank you very much indeed, and I wish you the best of luck to you and to all of us. Of course, thanks for this interview.
Thank you very much, Civil. I really appreciate the interview, and I think I would urge you to continue these kind of discussions, not only with people who are in Kosovo, but the regional conversation on what's happening nowadays and what has to be done, what needs to be done.